Hello, welcome to this lesson where we're going to look at measures of center and measures of spread. Now this is new terminology, but the underlying concepts are things that you've probably seen in the past. Now, when we have measures of center and measures of spread, they're talking about two different things. And it can help if we draw a graph to try to visualize what's happening. So if we had, let's say, a dot plot, and I won't put in values down the bottom. I'm just going to make a very basic dot plot, and what we're interested in here is the shape of it. Also note my dot plot is not very accurate. Alright, so if we have a dot plot like this, when we're talking about measures of center, we're looking at where is the middle of our data, or where does most of our data come around. The reason there's different ones is because for different types of questions, the measure of center that we want is slightly different. So when we're looking at measure of center, we're looking at something, where is the middle, where's the average, where's the most common part of our value. And each of these are different ones here. So we want our measure of center A measure of center tells us information about where most of our data is surrounding, or where the center of our data is. Measure of spread is talking about how far apart our data is. And we want data that's really close, and then we can, well, if we have data that's really close, we can make different conclusions than if our data was really spread out. So measure of spread is more how far apart is it. So I'll just write spread. So here we've got our new terms, measure of center and measure of spread. Now, measure of center is talking about mean, median, and mode. And these are terms that you've probably heard before. If you haven't heard of mean, this has been called average before. Or it's generally what people would use the word average in real life to mean. We write our mean as this X with a line above it. So if you see anything like that, that just means mean. And the way we find our mean is that we add up all of our values and put that on the top of a fraction and then divide it by the number of values. So that's how we work out our mean. And we'll look at some examples in a second. Median is another measure of center, and that's looking at what the actual middle value is. So we would start and we would just count from one side, and then we would go in, and then we're going to look, and here, if I did that correctly, is our middle value. Our mean may also be there, it may be somewhere different. So median, we're looking for the middle value, and we just need to put our numbers in order, and then we can find it. Finally, our mode is the most common. So here we can see, that this column has the most things happening, so that's going to be our mode column. Next, we have our measures of spread. And at this stage in maths, there's only one that we are really concerned with. When you get to year 9 and 10, you will look at things like interquartile range, which are perhaps more useful versions of measures of spread, but at the moment, range is all we need to know. And it's very simple to calculate. We just take the highest value and subtract the lowest value. So here we've got an example of each of these things and how we're going to calculate them, and then there's a question for you to do on each of those as well. So the first one is our mean. And to calculate our mean, we need the sum of all values and divide that by the number of values. So when we add up all of our values, we are going to get 26. So we can put 26 on top. Then on the bottom is the number of values. So we've added 1 plus 6 plus 3 plus 3. Sorry, we've added all of these numbers to get this one. Now we just need to count how many there are. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we can put 8 on the bottom. So that would be our mean. And you could write that as a decimal, or you could leave it as a fraction. I'm just going to leave it like that for now. Mode, we're looking for what the most common value is there. And if I look, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 ones, and not 4 or 5 of anything else. So our mode is going to be 1. Now you could have 2 modes. If we had 4 ones and we had 4 threes, we would put 1, 3. But in this case, we just have a 1 mode. So we write the number 1, which is the most common number, not because there's only one of them. Next, we have median. And this one requires that is easiest to do if we rewrite this in order. So I'm going to rewrite it up here. So the way I like to do this is I will tick them off as I add them. So we have 4 ones, so I can do that and then tick off our 4 ones. There's no 2s, we go for 3, we have a 3. No 4s, we have a 5. We have a 6. No 7s, and then we have an 8. So now our numbers are in order. Now to find the median, I like to go from each side at once. So I'm just going to tick them off as I go. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, this is interesting because we've come to these two in the same step. We've got 3 on each side and then these 2 in the middle. If we just had one of them, if we didn't have this number here and it was just a 3, then our median would be easy to write. We just write 3. But because we have 2, we have to find the average of these 2 numbers. So we add them together and get 4 and then divide it by 2. Because there's 2 numbers, so we get 4 divided by 2, which is 2. So our median value there is 2. Finally, our range, we're going to take our highest number, 8, minus our lowest number. So we get 8 minus 1, which is 7. Now, for sake of understanding, I will actually write what this decimal is, which is 3.25. And it's interesting to note that the mean, mode, and median are all different numbers. They tell us different information about it, and they're all measures of center, but they're not always going to be the same, and that's important to know. And then our range, again, is completely different to these because it's measuring a different thing. From this information, we could say the most common value is 1. We could say the value in the middle is 2, and we might say that the average is 3.25. Now it's your question. Can you find the mean, median, mode, and range of these numbers here?